What's up, everybody? What's up? How are you doing? Welcome to Forgetting Walls, and I'm Keith.
I'm Justin.
And as usual, it's just us two. Or is it?
Yep.
It's kind of unusual, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the past few episodes, we've had a lot of people on, so
and
it's kind of weird just being us two.
And last week, all I got to do is say, oh, my goodness. After last week, I figured they would come and shut us down, but we made it, man. We made it
through. We made it through.
So we're on lucky episode 13 this week. Woohoo!
Ooh, 13.
Well, if you kind of count it right, it may be episode 14, but we did a two-parter last week.
Yes, two parts in one, so we'll just count this as 13. No worries.
Yeah, because last week was it wasn't a disaster. I think it actually worked out nice. We had a lot of good conversation last week, and, I think some people, I don't want to use the word come out of the closet, but...
What do you mean by that, Keith?
Well, we just had some guys open up and talk that we've never really heard them talk that much. And Brooks was a delight, man, on the podcast last week, and I really appreciated everybody showing up. Ryan and Keith and Graham and Brooks and you and me. And did I forget anybody?
I think so.
I got everybody. Well, that's crazy. I can't believe I remembered everybody. There was only 7 of us, but we got some good responses back. Our main topic tonight we'll be talking about will be coming from a comment that we received from Scott.
Yeah,
that's
good old
cool.
Scott. He's a friend of mine from here at App, and he listens to the podcast a lot. And he sent in a comment and said really enjoys listening, and so he wanted to ask a question for us to answer. So we're going to do our best to actually try to answer the question.
We will not be forgetting questions this week.
No.
Well, and I thought it was great. I mean, he knows you, so y'all are friends.
Yeah.
You know each other, but for him to finish off the comment with the statement, "Y'all are awesome," that just really tickled my heart because he doesn't know me, and I don't know how anybody can call me awesome. But hey, I'll take the compliment anytime I can get it because that was but it was a great comment. We'll read it a little bit later on the show, and we'll be talking about something I think we've been meaning to talk about anyways. I mean, we always deal with like vocabulary words and words and defining and semantics and all that good stuff. And I think that the point he brought up is good. I'm assuming the way he worded everything, I'm assuming he's a Christian.
Oh, yes, he is.
Okay, good. Well, it kind of sounded like it, and I don't like to make too many assumptions, but I tried to make an assumption which sounded like a legitimate assumption, and we'll use assumption another 5 times to see if I can get a world record for saying assumption. But man, I'm stoked too, man. I gotta admit, I gotta say something. So we recorded last Thursday night, and we're recording again. It's a Thursday night, so it's a little different for us. It's different for our schedule, but we're trying out some new things, seeing how things work, trying to break up the monotony of the week a little bit for me because. Usually this week, I must apologize. I didn't listen to the show yet, like the edited version.
Oh, how dare you.
Well, I have to do all the editing, so I get a lot of listening time in. But I just really hadn't had a chance to just listen to the episodes, and I may do it tomorrow. Yeah. Have a long trip ahead of us tomorrow, so. Okay. But, so I didn't listen to it this week, so I really didn't get to, get all the good Philly stuff from it usually. But, we recorded Thursday night, and then like I was saying, I was like, I really miss recording. Like when I hear it on Monday or Tuesday, because I usually listen to it like Monday or Tuesday, I'm ready to record right after I listen to it. It's like, man, let's get back in the room. Let's do this thing, right?
Yep.
But anyway, so Thursday night we recorded, and Friday, we come home from work, and I think we came home from work like early last Friday. And
Okay.
we pulled up to the house, and Kim looks at the front door, and she's like, "What is that?" So I walk up to the front door, and there is a brand new in the box Audio-Technica MD8 mic, a dynamic mic, cable, everything
Nice.
like in the package, like right sitting by my front door. It wasn't like somebody sent it Amazon or something like that. It was just like somebody bought it from the store, drove up to the house, and put it on the front door.
Nice.
So
I mean, yeah, you told me about that earlier and asked me if I did that. And I was like, no, I wish I had that money to do that, but
yeah, it's real nice.
that's
and
that's totally strange.
it's real strange. And the great thing is I'm on it right now, and man, I'm loving it.
Yeah. It sounds good on my end so far, but we'll see how everyone else thinks about it.
Oh my goodness, we got a little skip there on your end, don't we? Oh, it's nighttime. Bad internet connections at nighttime too for some reason.
Ah. Yeah, I was getting skips on your end too, but
Really? I'm just gonna blame it on you.
yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Anyways, but yeah, so it was cool. So if anybody listening to the podcast did it, thank you. I guess they're doing the whole "don't let your right hand know what your left hand's doing," or that kind of thing. So because nobody's fessing up to it, but we appreciate it because we need all the help we can get down here. And it's not cheap.
That's true.
To buy all the mics and the equipment, especially last week's setup, man. Woo!
Yeah.
And we weren't even set up real, and we still. I think last week we shorted some people with some good comments because of the quality that was coming through. I think there were some people that didn't get their voices weren't heard all the time.
Right.
But I do.
But working with what we got, I mean, we did the best we could.
And also, I must admit, having 7 guys in the room that that are very unprofessional was a treat. And we didn't have many guidelines last week. We just had a couple, and we barely followed those. Okay, we didn't follow them. The only reason it sounded good, or it sounds like we followed the guidelines, was because I did so much editing last week.
Yeah, that's true.
Thanks, Robbie Bolin.
We'll kill him next time he gets on.
Oh, Robbie, bless you, Bolin. You notice how I've done that twice now, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's not getting edited out. It's staying just as is, Robbie Bolin.
All right.
So, anyways, how was your week How was your week back from spring break? I mean, you were down
Yeah,
here.
I mean, it was good. I left Saturday, and I drove 6 hours to get back to Boone. And pretty much I had 30 minutes to unpack all my stuff and get all my stuff back in my house, change clothes, and then head straight to work, where I worked an 8-hour shift. So I drove for about 14 hours on Saturday.
That's so lovely.
And yeah, so that was fun until 2 a.m. And then, this week, it's been pretty good. Just kind of going through, all my classes have been going well, and, not that much work. Just, I've started the process of getting a schedule for my final semester of college.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, last time I'm going to register and do all that stuff. So it's really scary, but at the same time exciting. So,
Well, that's cool. So, fall semester starts, and then you'll be done, right?
are we done?
You doing anything over the summer as far as school goes?
This summer?
Yeah.
No, not in terms of school, but I think I'm going to stay up in Boone and work.
So you're making it hard on me this summer, huh?
Yeah. I'll be down a few times. Don't worry.
Yeah, I hear you. It's how it always is. Leave me out hanging in the wind. That's all right. We're going to get this thing right. We're going to get it right.
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes. Hopefully we'll get a little more time this summer. I know I won't. Good gosh, I'll work too much. Yeah, it's been, I have to admit, how's the weather up in Boone been?
Okay, so it was really, really nice about 2-3 days ago. Sun, bright, like mid upper 60s, fantastic weather. Then today it dropped to about 35, and it's been raining all day, and there's a little bit of snow.
A little bit of snow?
Yep.
My gosh, dude.
I'm over it. I've said it if I've said it one time, I've said it 1,000. I'm so over it.
Well, it's been pretty decent here. The week started out just a hair chilly, not too bad.
Okay.
Tuesday was good.
Yeah.
Tuesday was actually really good. I think Tuesday we were picking about, I don't know, 75, 78 degrees. Just beautiful. And yesterday, well, no, I take that back. Let's see, today is Thursday, so Wednesday was a little chilly. We was doing about 69 degrees yesterday, so it was a little chilly.
Yeah. Right.
Tuesday we was doing about 81.
Gotcha.
Not a cloud in the sky, beautiful sunny weather. Man, it was awesome. And Monday was just as good. Monday was good too. Monday was really good as well. Mm-hmm. So we've had a great week up until today. Like you, it dropped. Well, I mean, we were in the high 50s, low 60s, but it was rainy and overcast. Of course, for us, it was chilly today. So
right,
so
that's a good day here.
Yeah, you would love to have that day, wouldn't you?
Oh, I love that so much.
Oh my gosh. I don't know, man. It's it's interesting with the weather. We're like two old men, you know that, right?
Oh yeah.
All we do is talk about the weather.
Yep.
Every time we get on, how's the weather your way? Well, the weather, But anyways, it's the Two Old Men podcast. That's what we do.
Yep.
Except you're not old, but
I'm an old man at heart, let's be honest.
I was going to say, you have a really old soul, like 85.
Yeah. Yep. You're not lying there.
Wow. That's kind of a trippy thing, man. So, man, we're in the middle of my favorite time of the year, too, though. March Madness, dude. March Madness. Gosh, man.
Yep.
I love college basketball. I love it. Love it. Man, hold on a second. I love it so much. But the problem is I haven't watched a single game all day long.
Okay.
It's nuts because, it's the first year I hadn't watched one game on the first day.
Okay.
But the good thing is that since I have, handy dandy smartphones, I get plenty of updates. And
there you go.
Man, it was kind of weird today.
A few upsets.
Yeah, seen some upsets, but it's cool. Duke plays tomorrow. They're going to have to redeem themselves for that atrocity that they had against Notre Dame in the ACC tournament.
Yeah.
That's just oh my gosh. I just saw something, man. Like
what?
We was talking about upsets earlier, right? And I was like, man, there's going to be some upsets. I figured there'd be a couple upsets. I figured like UCLA would beat SMU, and they did.
Yeah.
But Baylor lost to Georgia State. The number 14 seed beat the number 3 seed.
Huh.
Well, that's not too crazy because UAB beat Iowa State, which is a 14-3 seed as well.
Yeah.
And actually, Notre Dame almost went down too to Northeastern. They only won by 4 points. You was telling me that earlier that
I saw that one earlier.
They
today.
barely squeaked through. There was a few upsets today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of them not real big. Ohio State over VCU. That's not too crazy. It's not like, excuse me. If Lafayette would have beat Villanova, that would have been a great upset. Which I wouldn't have minded that so much, because I'm not a big Villanova fan. Even though there may be some out there, I'm not one of them. Anyways, so yeah, March Madness is off to the greatness. The NBA playoffs will be kicking off here probably in about a month. That's cool. The NFL draft at the end of April. Man, I mean, it's like sports year. Hockey's, the Stanley Cup playoffs are going to start happening here soon too. I'm not much of a baseball fan, but spring training has started off. Hey, gotta appreciate all the sports somehow. Well, I do.
Yeah, you can.
I do. I love the sports. I'll
just vaguely follow it a little bit and just try to keep up, just so I can stay in conversation.
Yeah, you peek over to Sports Center like ESPN.com. Okay, yeah, that could happen. Keith's going to talk about that.
Yep.
And not only that, UFC, what was it, 185 this past week or 184 this past week? Man, 185 I think it was. I got to finish watching it, and I kind of know what happens. The problem with the world today, and this is something my wife was telling me. We like watching The Walking Dead and watching all these things, right? But if you have social media, you might as well forget it, dude. There's no such thing as like, now everything's spoiler alerts. But when you was growing up, somebody's like, I saw this, and you go, no, don't tell me. I don't want to hear it. Kind of like what I did to Keith Hughes on Friday night at the bonfire. You know,
Yeah,
he didn't want him
exactly.
to score the Carolina game, and I come up and just told him.
Yeah.
He's like, I won't watch it when I get home. I was like, yeah, but it happens every time. I'm just scrolling through my Tritter. It started, Justin, already. It's Tritter. But I was looking at my Twitter, you know, scrolling through it, or I'm on Facebook trying to check out things, and man, somebody gives it away. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't want to. Come on, man, give me a break. And I'm like,
Yeah.
So I start muting people, or I start getting people off my feeds and stuff. So I don't have to see their spoiler alerts. I literally got rid of like 3 like groups I followed on Facebook just because every time they would spoil what I was waiting to watch in a couple of days.
And see, for me, like, so you mentioned like The Walking Dead, and I've been keeping up with it, but the past 2 Sundays I've just not been there, and I've missed it. And so I was talking with my friend Kayla about it today, and I mentioned that I hadn't seen the last 2 episodes, and he's like, yeah, dude, the last one was crazy. And I'm like, well, did any, you know, like major character died? And he's like, yep. And I'm like, oh, okay. So immediately I Google it to see who died, because I don't care about spoilers at all.
Well, Kim saw it on like Yahoo News or something. And the funny thing was that she was saying, you know, they asked this big question, and she's like, oh, no big deal. They asked the question. It's like, and then she went over a couple more, and then they answered the question. She's like, no. So she goes, I know what's happened. And I'm like, just don't tell me. And I know somebody's going to eventually tell me, and I'm going to find out, but I'm still going to watch it. I'm kind of like you. I don't want to know, but if it does happen to happen, okay, I'm down. I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to enjoy the show. I mean, it's like watching a rerun. You already know what happens. You just want to watch it again because it was that good.
Right. But, yeah, so I Googled it, and then Googled, like, what the scene was. And, dude, like, the internet was exploding because it was, like, it's the most gruesome death in The Walking Dead so far. And, it's pretty rough. It's pretty out there.
Well, I do know one thing, and if I'm wrong with this statement, you don't say nothing. But if Daryl dies, we riot.
Well, the internet hasn't broken so far. So.
Yeah, so I figured this is how I figured. If I get online and I can't do anything, it means Daryl's dead. Right? He's the only character that I care, and that's the shame. He's the one character. Him and blast it.
Describe him.
It's the Korean dude.
Oh, Glenn.
God, I mean, I'm so bad here lately with names. Maybe when I get my glasses, I'll be able to remember more.
Mm.
Oh, that was bad. Okay,
that
anyways.
was really bad. Okay. Moving on.
Definitely moving on. So we talked about a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like we always do.
Yeah.
You know, because it's actually been just a boring week. Outside of like I said, talking to banks about loans and doing all the craziness that, you know, adults have to do in life. You know what? I just want to be a teenager again. I don't care what anybody says. They're like, oh,
are you sure about that?
Dude, I could be an eternal teenager in high school forever. I want you to think about that.
I mean, yeah, it was really easy and all that, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd go back.
Dude, if you could put me at the age of 17,
yeah,
but with the catch that I can know what I know now.
Okay, I was about to ask that. I was like,
stay 17.
Would you go back to like the way you were 17, or like be you now just 17?
Man, I don't know if I would ever want to be me at 17 again. But then again, I did have a lot of what we call fun, but you know, it was a wasteful fun. You know, I felt like I wasted my life away.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is just to be eternally 17. That age right before adulthood, right before responsibility kicks in, right before you have to actually fess up and own up to anything in your life, just to be an eternal kid in an adult's body. With the responsibility of a kid too.
Oh, man. You mean adult in a kid's body?
But yeah, there you go.
I thought you were doing the plot of Big again.
You know what I mean, man. You know what I mean. Jeez, Justin, always with the technical stuff, man.
Yep. I catch you on it. That's what I'm here for.
Look, I had a long day at work.
Yeah, I understand.
A lot of man. I tell you what. You know what?
I mean, it has been a long day. I understand.
Yeah. It's we left work, and I actually left work like 30 minutes early today to go look at some houses and stuff, and it was just like I got there and I was like, I felt like I had taken a nap.
Yeah.
Driving, I was so out of it.
Yep.
And then we went and got some great Vietnamese food, which I love. A little new place that we're going to, man. It's great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Digging that. But, oh, no, man. It's just been a boring week. Like, like sometimes I like to have a nice little funny story that's happened during the week.
Mm-hmm.
No, not so much.
Gotcha.
Outside the fact that I did work. How about you, Justin? Any good delivery stories this week? We never got a delivery story. I need one cookie delivery story. I'm going to put you on the spot and you won't think of one.
Oh, man. All right. I'm just trying to think of which one to tell and which one people won't listen to the podcast.
Really now? You think people you're delivering to listen to the podcast?
Potentially. I like to be optimistic about this endeavor. I don't know about you, Keith.
Hey man, I'm all optimistic as I can get. I'm watching the metrics, and I'm all right. Go ahead with your delivery story, and I got something to say after that.
Okay. Well, this wasn't any one particular. It was the other night. It was probably about a week ago, right before spring break. So I was delivering. I was the only driver that night, and I was working 6 to 2 o'clock in the morning, and pretty much all of my deliveries that I went to, first of all, it didn't pick up until probably around 11:30. So from 6 to 11:30, I had 1 or 2 deliveries that entire time. And so, but from 11:30 to 2, it was just constantly busy. And I swear, every place I went to, I just opened the door and a wall of stench from weed just falls all over me.
What?
Yeah, and it's just every single place I went to, I just open the door and it just hits me, and it's bad. And so,
what time did you say these deliveries were?
11:30 to 2. So, it got a bit ridiculous after a while because it was literally every place I went to. But yeah. So other than that, then they tipped pretty well though, so that was okay.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. But yeah, there's the other night where I had 3 deliveries in a row where nobody tipped, and that was rough.
Oh yeah, that always sucks not to be tipped on the delivery when tipping is encouraged.
Yep. But the first night I ever worked there, I got tipped in candy, so I'll take that.
Tipping candy? Hold on, you deliver cookies and you get candy?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was at a dorm, and so I went up there, and I have to call them if they're at the dorm, because I can't go into dorms because you have to have the card swipe to get in there.
Right.
And so I have to call them and be like, hey, want to meet me in the lobby or whatever. And so I called them and they met me in the lobby, and the girl's like, you got the goods? And I was like, yeah, I do. And so I gave her the cookies, and she's like, well, we got something for you. And so she brought out a bag, and it was a bag full of candy. So I was like, oh, sweet. So,
nice. That's always good.
And plus a few dollars too. So,
well, one thing we can say, we know what's happening between 11:30 and 2 around college campuses, and why you deliver cookies that late at night, because somebody's got the munchies.
Oh yeah.
So, I just want to make an obligatory Star Wars reference right now while we're at it. Episode 7, The Force Awakens, is now 272 days, 22 hours, 6 minutes, and 14 seconds away.
I don't know whether to ask you have an app for that, or if that's literally in your head right now. Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better that you have an app.
If I had it down to the second, dude, something would be wrong with me.
It would not surprise me.
Speaking of that, well, what I was going to say before you got to your delivery story of delivering cookies to munchie heads.
Yeah.
I guess it's just a better name to use. So, I'm like, we really need to get some people on board by going out and, reviewing and rating the podcast for us on iTunes.
Yeah.
Because it really would help. I mean, it would really, really, really really help us out. I mean,
absolutely.
Just going out there and saying, hey, you know what, we're going to check the box for you. We're going to go out there and hit a star. Dude, right now, I don't care if you hit 2 stars, 3 stars. Just don't give me a 1. But man, just say a little something. I mean, say I don't like these guys. Say these guys are stupid, not smart.
Something
I don't care.
Positive, Keith. Jeez.
Okay, say Justin's great and Keith's a weirdo.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
but
you like that?
But yeah, like if you leave a rating or a comment on iTunes, that's what really that helps get the word out and spread the word. And we're that's how we're starting. We're starting very grassroots movement. We want to tell people that we know and let this thing spread and kind of word of mouth sort of thing. So
exactly. So I figured, hey, what's the harm in it, right? So I'm going to go and put a little post on the Facebook site, right? No big deal. Come on, guys, go over to iTunes and give us a rating and a review. Right. And I get a few likes, right? Like. Nobody goes and rates it, man. I don't understand this jazz, man. I'm like, I will say this, man. We boosted our Facebook profile like crazy. I mean, we had 22 more people like us this week, which was really great. Yeah. It's all due to having 7 guys on. Mm-hmm. And doing all that jazz,
Right.
And of course, you probably hear my dog in the background barking like a little beanhead. Gosh,
hey, London.
Man. Yeah, don't hey Leon. Don't encourage it. Don't encourage it. It's just bad news, man. Just bad news. But anyways, hey guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, do us a favor. Go out and rate the thing. Go over to Stitcher. If you're listening to it on Stitcher, hit the like on every episode. Every episode, just hit the like button, man. Bam, bam, bam. We love it. Listen to us, man. Download the podcast if you can from iTunes. If you can't, leave us a comment on the podcast page, man. Go over to forgettingwalls.com /podcast plural, and just click on a podcast and leave your comments on what you think about it. We really need some help to figure out where we're going. We don't know if we're doing the right thing. Even though some people say, man, I really love your podcast, but what do you love about it? Come and tell us. I mean, we're going to take this time to just speak to our audience. Tell us what you like about it. Tell us what you hate about it. Tell us if you think we should still be doing something that we're not doing anymore, because we haven't really done any actual segments in a while, Justin.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, we've just been talking the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just got some, but we've had some.
We had good conversations. I mean, it's run its course, and then we look at the time and we're like, oh well, we don't have time for this. So
yeah, like last week, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Last week was
near 3 hours of talking.
But I think we did something last week that most podcasts don't. We just opened the format to go, and hey, we've got a lot of requests to be on the podcast. A couple of females have said, hey, we'll be your female perspective. We may corrupt them. Okay.
I don't know about you.
Yeah, I may corrupt them. They may come on. Well, at least these people know us.
Mm-hmm.
Not like it's absolutely. A strange person who's a woman coming on and then going, you guys, okay, Keith, you're a little out there. Justin, I love you. You're just,
hey,
I love you, Justin.
Come watch musicals with me.
Oh my gosh. Hey, you know what? I'm not such an insensitive guy. Kim's like, you really sell yourself short. And I'm like, do I?
Probably.
I may.
Yeah.
I'm kind of come down hard on myself sometimes, but it's okay. Anyways, like I was saying, hey, going out, check us out. Check out the website. Go over to the podcast page. Check it out. Justin said he's got a couple of blog posts coming up, which I'm really excited about because...
Oh, yeah. I've been writing like crazy recently.
Whenever Justin puts out a blog post, man, everything just increases because he's such a good writer. Me, not so much, but Justin, very much. Because if I do write anything and put it out, guess what I do? I give it to Justin and say, fix it.
I just edit it, kind of reshape it a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's just a difference of writing because writing, that's I'm not as good as talking, which you could probably tell if you listen to the podcast. Keith is more of the talker. And so it comes across I can write a lot better than the way I talk. and I can get my ideas across through writing a lot better. Whereas Keith, he can talk and get his point that way. And the way, that you write, Keith, it's very much like a conversation, like talking.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
And that's always been my problem when I was in school writing papers. The professor always said, "Hey, I understand you write like you talk, but you got to stop that. It's not really good for formatting." And I'm like, okay. So whenever we do our book, at least I got somebody on board that can kind of know what I'm doing and fix it.
There we go.
Anyways, let's move on because I think we've talked enough smack for a while. Yeah.
Yep.
We good gracious. How do we go 30 minutes and not talk about anything? Really don't know. So anyways, this week we had a friend. I'll call him my friend too. We'll just call him our friend. At Forgetting Walls, our friend.
A friend of mine is a friend of yours.
That's right. Scott left us a post, and once I get this up right where I can see it.
Do you want me to read it for you?
You know what? Yes, you go ahead and read it, and
Fantastic.
I will follow along with you.
All right. So Scott sent in this message, and
word for word, man.
yeah. So he says, "Hey guys, I'm really enjoying the podcast so far. Thanks for the insightful conversation. I've been mulling over an issue that I think would be right up your alley to talk about, and that's the word, quote, Christian. Honestly, I've started to almost cringe anytime I hear the word used, even on your podcast, and I've been using it very sparingly for a long time now. The reason is I'm afraid that the very word Christian now has so much baggage attached to it, and it seems to have long since departed from its original connotation of disciple of Jesus in Acts 11, because of so many negative and controversial examples of Christians who have treated the word as a title to be worn and used instead of a lifestyle to be lived and actively pursued. So I will now almost always use the phrase, quote, follower of Jesus to describe people who, well, follow Jesus, as I believe that the phrase comes much closer to describing people who live out the gospel and not just claim it. But I don't want to seem like I'm distancing myself from having to deal with those negative and controversial examples of Christians. I'd really appreciate hearing your thoughts on this. Feel free to disagree with me. Y'all are awesome. Smiley face. So, where do you want to go with that? First of all,
well, I think the first thing we need to address is the word Christian in and of itself. I think starting there may be the best way to really, I guess, identify, what we're talking about there.
Right.
Of course, we know that the first time it's recorded that we see the word Christian, if we're holding to the dating of the books in the Bible, and we're talking about Acts,
right?
And we're looking at the chronology of when things happen in Acts. In Acts chapter 11, verse 26, if I'm not mistaken, is the first time that we see.
You know it better than I do, so
is the first time that, and I'll get clarification on that here in a second. But the first time that we see the word Christian used.
Yeah, and it was actually used as an insult in the early church, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
like, hey, look at you Christians, like those who.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Of course, when I'm doing something, I hit the wrong button and the wrong thing.
At least you didn't drop your phone on your keyboard.
Yeah, while I'm doing this, we're trying to start the podcast off, right? We started off and we got our crazy dubstep music playing in the intro, and I'm like, yeah, we're loving it. And then Justin makes me drop my phone.
No, how did I do that? And no, it was so weird because I hear dubstep, and all of a sudden I hear Bueller, like into it, and I'm like, is this a weird remix that you made?
It was like Bueller, and and then there was a little Darth Vader in the background too. There was all this stuff going on, and I'm like, well, we may need to start over. Let me stop this recording and let's record again. But okay, so I was right. Acts 11:26. Go figure.
Good job.
And just so people know, it's in the second half of the verse when it says the disciples were first called Christians at Antioch, and it was out of the persecution that was happening there.
Right.
It was interesting because when you're a Christian, right? And let's just throw it out there, okay? When we say the word Christian, if we're talking about people who we don't know if they are or are not Christians, we're kind of up in the air. We always say quote unquote or so to speak of or this. We throw out some terminology that says we really don't know. And then there's the people who we believe are Christians, and we say they're Christians. And when we say Christians, we mean people who are, saved or whatever word you want to use that means that, and like Scott says, a follower of Jesus.
Right.
So in that sense, a lot of people as Christians, they really don't know who, I'm sorry. They really don't know what that means. They just have this, I guess, general presupposition about being in church, going to church, doing these things, believing in Jesus. The traditional, fundamental mindset of being a Christian, but they really don't know where it comes from. So, when you kind of break outside of your walls,
I see what you did there.
But when you get outside that box and you start looking at at Scripture and going, why are we called Christians? Why does the name Christian stick with us? Well, it comes from this time in Antioch. Antioch was where the word Christian was coined, and it was thrown out as an insult. Now, of course, there's other instances or other reasons that it's thrown out there, but it means like little Christian or little Christ or like Christ or something. It was basically an insult because at that time, since the church was being persecuted, it was what's the word I'm looking for? Let's make it easy, Keith. It was what was happening. Even if they couldn't get their hands on you, they would throw insults and hurl names at you. And this was one of those things that they thought was an insult, but somehow it stuck.
Yep.
But so that's the general gist of Christians. It started there. It was a name thrown out. It was. I couldn't even tell you what the Greek word is. Justin, have you got the Greek yet?
Oh, the Greek of it? Well, I know Christ is Christos.
Yeah, that's right.
What Christian is in Greek? That would be buy me time, Keith.
Okay, well, I'll buy you time. So, anyways, since we're kind of doing the background history here, I'm just going to go ahead and paint my picture of opinion with Scott and agree with him. Actually, I have a hard time using the word "to" in today's context. There's a lot of words I have a hard time using. So I'm not going to disagree with Scott, even though he may have wanted me to disagree with him. But there are some points I will disagree with him on.
Yeah, and it's Christianos.
Christianos. Well, I
should have known that.
What? Come on now. Koine Greek has got to be. I'm sure it sounded a lot different than that when they were speaking it, right? Come on,
that's the phonetic of it.
So. Is that the phonetic of it? Well, I guess it is. Christianos.
Yep.
Well, okay then. Hey, so
there you go.
Thanks, man. I learned something new today. I hope all y'all did. There's your Greek lesson for the week. Christianos is Christians in Koine Greek. Yay, Justin.
Woo!
Woo! Thanks for being my researcher on the spot.
No problem. But yeah, there's a lot of points to what Scott says that I agree with, but there are some things that I would possibly kind of fine tune or not necessarily disagree with, but would alter and sort of kind of So what are your points? What do you think about that? Well, because I totally get what he says when he's really hesitant to see when he hears the word Christian, because you see in media and you see all these examples of Christians being the higher than mightier than thou and better than you, and they're like, oh, look at those Christians, and now it almost is back to an insult. So I definitely do see that.
Well, and I think a lot of people like myself have this. We see the negative picture of what Christian is starting to come across now. So we try to distance ourselves from that, but we're distancing ourselves from the culture or people of this culture who was using the term incorrectly. So I think that's where some of the points I may have, or like he has, breaks down, because he's just distancing himself from the term Christian.
Right.
But I mean, you could use the term like fundamentalist, evangelist,
Right.
or evangelical. The way those words or labels have been placed upon people, and how others see those words how people label themselves, that they automatically have this stereotype in mind. Well, you're like this. But that's not how those people started out. The people who were evangelical or evangelists, or the ones who considered themselves fundamentalists, they weren't like the stereotypes that we see portrayed today. It was totally different. So it's like we move from word to word to word to word. It's like, oh, you're a Christian. Oh, now you're evangelical. And, oh, no, now you're fundamentalist. Oh, no, now I'm Christian, but now I'm this, and now I'm that, and now I'm a follower of Jesus. It's always going to be that way, because the term that starts out, like what I feel is, even if you change the wording of Christian to follower of Jesus, eventually everybody else is going to fall in line with, I'm a follower of Jesus too. And you're going to have people in that group do stupid things that detract from what that really means. And then eventually you're going to have another stereotype that looks bad. It's just the way it flows. It's just the nature of the beast, basically.
Right. I totally agree. And sort of my same point is kind of the reverse almost. Like, by distancing yourself from the term Christian, you're allowing those who are misusing the word Christian and misrepresenting what Christianity is to take over what that is, or like the word itself. And so I think by you distancing yourself, you're only contributing to, it's almost like they win.
No, and I absolutely agree with that as well. I see it just like how people take the word church to be such a bad thing. I don't want church to be a negative term, but people have taken it that way because the way it's been used and seen in today's culture and society.
Right.
So what we have to do is reclaim those things. We have to reclaim those words and those labels and make them mean what they're supposed to mean today.
Right.
I'm having issues with my. I forgot to get a windscreen, like a windscreen cover for my mic. So there's going to be a lot of popping and jumping and jiving. So and it's all coming from the P's and the S from the mic.
S's.
Yeah. So I apologize this week. I was really slacking getting things together this week. It's just
that's all right.
Well, like I said, it's been one of those weeks. But yeah, so it's just one of those things that, like he says, the word Christian has so much baggage attached to it. But if you really think about it, every label, every term, every ism, everything has baggage attached to it. It's just I think it depends on the person and how you deal with it. Now, some people can't. Yeah. I don't think there are people, and I'm not saying Scott's one of them, but I think there's a lot of people out there who it's too much to handle. It's too much to deal with. So they use different words. And I was like, I'm not going to cover up for myself. I was one of those people who said, I just don't want to use the word Christian anymore because
I was too.
I'm a follower. I went back to the original terminology. I'm a follower of the way. Because I saw that being used before anything else. I mean, and it wasn't just the quote unquote Christians using it.
Right.
It was literally other people. Like, are you, like the Pharisees, are you a follower of the way? It was other people using that terminology. And I'm like, man, they got it. But when Antioch, when the church at Antioch came along, they used the word Christian. It changed everything. How can, a word like Christians and a word like church and a name like Jesus cause so much controversy in the world? I mean, you think you got all this, like, how can something that's supposed to be nothing, like Jesus and God and church and Christian, have so much surrounding it, right? Shouldn't we just find some way for it to die off? I mean, I know that's weird for me to say. But I mean, if it was such, I mean, I understand religion's a big thing and it's always been played a big part in the world, and we can get into the philosophy side of it, but just logically thinking, if it was supposed to be nothing, if it was just nothing, it's just a fad, a passing phase, Don't you think it'd wore out by now? I mean, I'm just thinking that of myself.
Well, I mean, you can make that point. That obviously, since it's still around, then something significant did happen.
Yeah.
Whether or not you believe that, that the resurrection did happen, Jesus was God and all that stuff, then, but still, it's still significant things, still significant movement that happened. But technically, you can still say the same of like Buddhism and Hinduism and Islam,
you're right.
that's still around today.
I'm just trying to make, I guess, just observable points from where I'm standing.
Gotcha.
And we talk about the word Christian, and that's what I was saying. It's just, I think it gets so convoluted that there's so much, like he said, there's so much baggage attached to it.
Yeah.
That we don't see what it really is any longer. And I mean, of course, it's our fault.
Right.
We've made it that way.
Exactly.
It doesn't have that baggage just because the word is there.
Right.
I tend to think that, I mean, I've thought before, and I'll throw this out to you.
Okay.
What if Constantine didn't have his vision?
Yeah, his reported vision.
Yeah, and what if he didn't make the Roman Empire a Christian state or a nation or empire? I mean, you think about this.
I think the Roman Empire would have fallen apart.
Well, no, and I agree with you, but I'm just thinking, what if?
Right.
What would Christianity look like today? I mean, you think about the realness of that. I'm not saying that it wasn't already going downhill at a point because man is man.
Yeah.
And not that it wouldn't have gone that way anyways. And we're dealing with today with what we're having. But do you think it had been a different turn? You
No, absolutely. I mean, the Edict of Milan, and I could go into it, but that's where, Christianity was legalized throughout the Roman Empire. And that's where really for the first time Christianity was very deeply entwined with the state. And that being a Christian now could be enforced by the sword, like could be, conversion and have, that it was no longer okay to be in pagan religions.
Right.
And so I think that was a huge turning point in history, and especially in the development of Christianity. So I think without that, I mean, you're right, it might have happened anyways later down the road, but I mean, we can't know. So that's speculative history, but
and I love that though. I mean, that's what.
Oof.
But that's what's fun about it. I mean, because you got history books, and we kind of believe most of them. I don't believe everything everybody says. I mean, because man's man. I mean, that's why people look at the Bible and go, well, man wrote it, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, man wrote history books, and can they be wrong? I mean, absolutely. Because, I mean, I grew up, listen, I grew up in the South, and all my history books were always skewed one way. I mean, history of North Carolina, you know? And then, of course.
Just go to Texas.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like, so everything that would, and I'm not talking about races, I'm just talking about the splits between the North and South.
Yeah.
And you hear this history about, Lincoln and all these people, right? Not, everybody grew up thinking Lincoln was this great president, and, and he the Civil War was, to end slavery. And then I'm like, I start reading some like personal stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot more
Lincoln,
to it.
And I'm like, Lincoln was a great old big racist too.
Yeah.
And that's how it was in that culture. So to separate those things, I was like, so when man writes history books, it doesn't always point to the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
No, absolutely not.
But anyways, so I mean, I like speculating on history. I like doing the what ifs. I think the what ifs are fun because the what ifs could go, well, that could have happened, even though it didn't. It could have. What would it been? Would we be recording a podcast? Forgetting walls today? I mean,
but then you think of like any other event in history, like any tiny little event. Like if I didn't do this one day, if I didn't like turn left instead of turn right, all these things, then what would be different? And I mean, you just regress constantly back.
Well, I'm not even talking about a little. I'm just talking to one of the largest events in, like, let's just say the church history. Yeah, I think that happened was when Rome instituted Christianity to be legal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
Absolutely.
I mean, so I think it's one of those things that help cause the baggage that the word Christian has.
Yeah, but it also helps spread Christianity
too.
And
I agree that, because of it being that way, it was the avenue that God used to spread the gospel to literally to the ends of the earth, which that was the catalyst for it all, I believe.
Yeah.
It's always fun to think about. I'm just throwing it out there and let other people hear it, and maybe we'll get somebody ticked off enough to.
I'm sure you will.
Man, I'm all about it, man. And that's the thing, though, because I'm just a simple guy. I'm not thinking about, I don't get into philosophies of things and things like that. I mean, even though, you like them.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, whatever's whatever. I mean, what happens, what happened has happened, and what's going to happen is going to happen, right? I mean, if that's how you want to believe. I mean, I believe some people think everything's laid out in front of them. And man, we're so far off topic, so we did forget the question. You're welcome, Scott.
But yeah.
Bueller.
We're getting back on subject here. Anyways, but yes, outside all that. So let's look at that from another point of view then.
Okay, go for it.
So we're talking about a Christian who looks at the word Christian and sees it with all this baggage, and it doesn't really contain the essence of what it meant. The essence of being a disciple of Jesus, which I think Christian's a fine word, and we can use it. And I guess it could kind of mean disciple of Jesus, which is follower of Jesus or the follower of whatever you want to look at it, right? I mean, you can throw it out there. But when the word Christian is used in our culture today, in our society, and there's people who are not Christians around, what does that sound? I mean, when that word is released from your mouth and you go Christian, and there's other people who are not Christians there, presuppositions start to happen, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
It's usually negative, isn't it?
Yes.
For the most part.
Yeah. And I feel like that also has to do with just that everything has a label now. Like no matter what you believe or what you are or what you think, or everything is labeled, and with those labels carry certain connotations.
Exactly.
And I feel like almost every single label, no matter what you describe yourself as, has a negative aspect to it, has some sort of, someone will take that and immediately think negatively of you because of that label.
I was getting ready to say that. I was literally getting ready to make that same point, that whenever something is thrown out there, whatever word it is, and we're going to use religious words, whether it's Muslim, Christian, whatever it is.
Right.
Do you think, and do you think every person that hears that automatically goes to the negative perspective before they go to the positives?
I think it depends on who you are. And it depends on if you're a part of that or not. If you fall under that label.
Well, no, what I'm saying is if you're the opposite, if you're not that group.
Okay, if you're not that.
If you're not that group, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. If you're looking from the outside, right? And somebody says, okay, so a Muslim walks up to a group of Christians and Buddhists.
Right.
And starts talking about Islam. Do they automatically, all those people who are not Muslim, go to a negative presupposition?
Yes. Or most likely. I do believe so. Because really, when someone is different than you and you see that and they start describing their differences and you start placing them in this label and in this box, and really we talked about this kind of a little bit last week, because I think it's sort of like a defense, like being, because at least in my opinion, it reminds you of how other you are to them. And so you put up a defense and kind of reject that as a whole. And it's easier to put, instead of listening to a person, instead of actually taking what they have to say and considering it and treating them like a person, it's much, much easier to, when they start talking about something, to fit them into a certain category and then reject that as a whole.
Yeah. And that's what throws me, because, well, and I say, I don't blame other people, for the way they see Christians and the way they see other religions. I mean, I don't blame them. I mean, you can have your own opinions. You can think how you want to think. I think my problem is I have an issue with how Christians do these things. You know, all right. So, example, you know, you got Christians out there going, you know, we're Christians, and why is everybody treating us bad? You know, and everybody's against us, and you know, and the government's against us, and you know, the Islam's against us, and the atheists are against us, and this is against us, and this is against us, and this is against us, and we can't get through because we're Christians. And I'm thinking, but and I can get the reasoning, because there is a lot going on, I think, in our nation that everybody can be tolerant. Which, you know, and of course, case by case situation, but I've seen places where, you know, Christians are targeted for certain things, especially a lot of the articles I'm starting to read. You know, Christians are targeted. You never see a Muslim targeted from an atheist group. I mean, it happens. I'm not saying, but it's not as noted and publicized. And I guess that's just because the way it is.
Right, because we live in a culture that's so inundated with Christianity, so it's a much easier thing to target.
And I'm sure if you go to any other nation, I think I read an article where an atheist was, gosh, I wish I could remember the article now, but he was, I want to say somewhere in the Middle East. I hate to be so general and lackadaisical about the term of being in the Middle East, but it was a Muslim nation. An atheist was there, and like they went after him too, and he was just trying to do doing his thing, but and he was speaking against Islam and speaking against Muslim, and they didn't like it, and they went and I guess got him and arrested him or whatever. I can't remember what the article really said, but to the gist of it, like you were saying, because here it's Christianity, in the Middle East it may be Islam, so that's what's going to be pointed out the most in those areas.
Right.
You know, I just think we take it it's so personal here, especially with Christianity, especially in here in the United States, because like in Iraq or Iran, you know, where the Muslim law, it's law through their Muslim beliefs. You know, you speak against Islam there, you know, you can be put to death. You know, here you speak against Christianity, it's just another day in the park. You know, and it can go to being Islam too, or to Buddhist, Hinduism, whatever you want to speak against. Here in America, you have that freedom to do it. You don't have that freedom in most other nations to do that thing against the.
Yeah, I mean, you have that freedom, at least to the extent where you can say it without being afraid of, you know, being jailed or, you know, killed for that, but you will face ostracism and a lot of criticism because of it.
Right. And, you know, I just think we're
so it's not that there are no consequences for speaking out against Christianity, because you'll have all the people on top.
Yeah, but I think that's starting to float away a little bit more and more as time goes on in our country. You know, is speaking out against Christianity today in America is becoming more and more mainstream. And if you do it, that's your business. If you don't, hey, great. If you do, whatever. You know, that personally, I don't care. Right? Because you're not affecting me personally. You know, yeah, I get a little twinge of, you know, irritation when I see, you know, somebody attacking a Christian just because they're a Christian, right? But I also know that you have the absolute right to do whatever you want and say whatever you want within the bounds of the law. You know. You know, but I think Christians have taken it so personally. I think that's why that's another reason why the word Christian has taken on such a negative example. Yeah, it's because we react with anger and hate instead of reacting with love and mercy and grace. Right. Which, of course, I don't do that. I would be. I don't think many people do that.
No, not at all.
I mean, Christians or not Christians. Now, I know some Christians that are the epitome of love, mercy, and grace. It blows my mind how gracious and humble these people are. But then again, I've seen people who aren't Christians who are gracious and humble, you know, and it blows my mind. I think from my perspective and what I believe, I think there's a slight difference, but not much. You know, I think but I think that's another reason why Christians get such a bad rep, or at least the word gets a bad rep. I mean, I think about, well, let's throw this. We talked about it last week or the week before last, I think, when we talked about how bad Christian, and I think it was the week before, how bad Christian looked at Russell Wilson. You know, their blog post about Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And their whole ordeal was, you know, you go out there and you try to promote yourself as this Christian, and it's all about God, you know, and God above football, and God this and God that, and you do all these things, and then after you win the Super Bowl, you go on and it's like, oh, me and my wife are getting divorced. Now, whether him and his wife are getting a divorce or not, that's none of my business. But I think I see what they're saying, because there's this negative connotation that's placed on Christianity, because you see this person in the limelight promoting Christianity, but then one of the things that is considered, immoral, basically, like divorce, this very prominent, so to speak, perfect Christian, which we know he's not perfect,
right,
is now doing this thing that is very anti-Christian. You know, so yeah, it throws these things out there when you have pastors, you know, sleeping with prostitutes or getting prostitutes and male prostitutes and all these things, you know.
And it always seems to be with pastors, either money scandal or sex scandal.
Exactly. I mean, what about the latest one? And then, this is not a scandal, but did you see, what is it, Creflo Dollar? Did you see that whole thing?
No, I haven't seen that.
So basically on his website, they have put up this like crowdsourcing fund, right?
Are you talking about the jet?
Yeah, the $65 million jet.
Yeah, I did see that. I was watching Late Night last night, and they were talking about prosperity gospel and all that stuff. So yeah.
So my thing is when you see things like this, right? You see these things, and people are labeling themselves Christians. How can you not look at it negatively?
Right. It's hard not to.
And I think this where it falls back to Christians to make the word Christian, even though we have these negative examples of people who are Christians, to let people know that that's who we really are, though. I mean, Christians aren't this perfect thing, and we don't get it right.
Yeah.
You know, I think that may be the mistake that we have, as Christians, have made in the public eye, trying to promote this perfect
image of, perfection, that, we have everything figured out and that's the way that I've noticed a lot of testimonies are as well. It's like, I was in this, the typical evangelical testimony is, that I was in this path of sin, and I was without God, and then I got saved and everything was better. And I'm like, no, that's not how it is. I was like,
and
I'm like,
yeah, no. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. And it's this image of perfection that we're trying to sell to everyone else, but nobody's buying, because they see that it's not true. Well, at least, we are redeemed and all that stuff, but we are, we still have a lot of things wrong with us. We're still being perfected, and it's and it's this image that we're trying to get across that's simply not true.
No, and it's so right, because I think the point too is that because we're trying to promote that image, because we're trying to send that image out to everybody in the world, and then when a few people bite onto it, and then they get in it and they realize, well, I'm saved, I really believe in Jesus, I believe everything you told me, but it's not really that much better. It's really hard, and it sucks. And you know what? I'm not doing everything right and perfect now, and now I feel a little bit ostracized from the people I'm supposed to be loved by. I see that a lot too, and those are the people who step out that I believe really, really believe, but they can't put their heart totally into it, because what they've been given as the gospel is nothing but a lie.
Yeah.
And that's what breaks my heart, because I'm thinking, I know my life, man. I can look in the mirror today and tell you I am so screwed up at times. And matter of fact, and the other times, I'm still not perfect. There's no point in my life that I'm perfect. So as a Christian, there's no such thing as the perfect life. And if you have the perfect life, you're living a lie, because it's not really perfect. There's something that's going wrong. There's something you're doing that's not right. There's something that you will fall into some sin at some point, because as human beings, we can't do it. We just can't do it. There's nobody out there getting it right. That's why we see so many pastors with these moral failures.
Right. And so instead of trying to promote this image of perfection, we should be honest and open and admit, like, yeah, I screw up, I mess up. I have this wrong with me. This is, I still struggle with sin, and be open and honest and transparent about it. And that just, I think, magnifies grace and what God has done through Jesus even more.
And that's my thing, because we talk about the Bad Christian podcast a good bit on here, and I think that's it's one of the motivating factors why me and you are doing what we're doing. We're just doing it a little bit differently, a little cleaned up,
right? A little bit,
but what I do like about them, and I know why we do what we do. We made guidelines for us to do what we do, and it's not because we're trying not to be real. We just know that there's certain things and people listening that we're trying to be respectful to. And right. I think the guys over at Bad Christian has set a standard for themselves, and that's what they're doing. And I love it. I listen to all their podcasts. I mean, there's not a time that I've been offended. I may not agree with everything they say or do, and that's good, because that's what I think as human beings we should be doing. Right. But they're being real. They're being honest. They're being open about who they are. They're not hiding it. I mean, just the whole concept of how they deal with pornography and their accountability to pornography. Of course, they get sponsored by a great organization, X3 Church and Triple X Watch, X3 Watch. I'm sorry,
X3 Watch, and Triple X Church.
We're going to go ahead and promote them, even though they're not paying us. But but you see how they're open and honest and real about things, right?
Yeah.
So why can't all Christians just be open and honest?
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is going to be so I guess Christianese and cheesy maybe, but do you think people have, and I'm not saying a lack of faith, but they don't trust Jesus enough to get them through those points of just being open and honest and real? I know that sounds kind of,
Yeah, I think it's a fear, and it could be a fear that they have this image that, well, because I'm a Christian now, I'm supposed to be perfect. I'm supposed to be different than the world, and I'm supposed to have this sort of standard that's totally different. So if I look anything like the world or have any sort of moral failures at all, then by that logic, at least in that mindset, it seems like God is diminished and that God wasn't that powerful enough to but really I think it's diminishing God by saying that, well, okay, everything's perfect now, because instead of the process of God sanctifying you, and I know it's Christianese word, but him, working through you and, getting you through those really tough times and those things that, you screw up through. So yeah.
Well, and I agree. It's just, I don't know.
I think it's a fear thing. I think it's that we don't want other people to know our messiness and our mistakes, and we don't want to project that image, because we think that since we are trying to be reflections of God, that if we do make those mistakes, then somehow we let God down.
Right.
And I think that that's a mistake that we make, because we're not holding God up in the first place.
Well, yeah, and that's always been my issue. It's I think Christians have gotten to the point, like you said, they're not trying to disappoint God. They're trying to have this image where, like you said, we don't hold God up.
Mm-hmm.
He holds us up. Oh, skit guys, skit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But for me, it's like, if we stop for 1 second and said, hey, do you want people to lie to you, right? Do you like being lied to? Well, of course not. I don't like being lied to. So why are you lying to everybody else? Why are you presenting this image that is totally fake? And I get it. I mean, I've done it. I was a party to that. I was trying to play the role, trying to be the good guy, trying to get rid of all the things in my life that were quote unquote sin and bad, and you can't do these things, and don't act like this, and you got to act like this, and you got to dress like this, and you got to have your hair cut like this, and you got to shave like this, and you can't have that, and there's all these things that start to pile up, and you go, but honestly, that's not who I am. And if who I am at my core, if like, you know, if I believe that God created us unique, right? I'm a Christian and I believe, okay, God created me unique. He created me to be this person. He created me to be Keith, you know?
Yep.
If I'm not that person, if I don't live my life to that extent through Jesus, of course, don't you think I'm just one big fat liar? You know? And I think that's, you know, where Scott's maybe coming off with this point that Christians are now just looked at as, you know, hypocrites, liars, you know.
Right.
I don't want to associate myself with this term. I don't want to have this terminology of Christian labeled on me. But in retrospect, I think we need to grab a hold of that word. We need to say, I am a Christian. You know,
right.
Yeah, I'm a follower of the way. Yes, I'm a follower of Jesus. Yes, I'm a disciple of Jesus. That's what makes me a Christian. Now, now let me promote an image of Christianity that's supposed to be promoted. So when people go, "Are you a Christian?" You go, "Yeah." Well, what makes you a Christian? And then you say these things, and then you go, "But what really makes me a Christian is my life. That you see who I am, who I really am, and I'm not putting on anything fake."
Right.
So when they look at other people, then people who aren't Christians maybe can start distinguishing the people who are really a Christian and who aren't really a Christian. Because I mean, they should be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, should we all look the same? I mean, all right, Justin, we've sat here tonight and we've talked about a lot of weird stuff, right?
Yeah.
We've disagreed on some stuff. Yeah, that's right. Okay, no big deal. We don't have any issues with that. But does that separate us from being brothers in Christ?
No, not at all.
Right? Because there's a core value, there's a core belief, there's a core gospel, right? That settles us as Christians. Just because, you know, I may believe that Christianity gets persecuted more than any other religion in the world, and you don't, you know. And I'm not saying you do or don't. I'm just saying, you know, if that's what we disagree on, it doesn't change the fact that, you know, you're still a Christian through Christ and the resurrection like I am. You know, it doesn't matter if you believe, you know, if you're a hyper 5-point Calvinist or, you know, I'm not. You know, it doesn't change the fact that we're still human beings who have been given salvation through Jesus Christ. We've been justified through his blood. All right. So that's good. That's all good and say, but you know, we should reclaim that so people can see those differences. You know, I think there may be a small rebellion happening, you know, like Jack says, he likes the rebellion, you know, and I think the thing is there may be a small type of rebellion going on that's starting to catch, you know, fire and starting to grow. And we're going to see this intolerance for Christianity to be the norm, the status quo of what it has always been. And now it's going to start changing into what it really should be, the truth of the nature, being somebody who loves people and being somebody who loves God. And that's the core of our values. You know, as a Christian, what is the core of our values? Well, it's to love God and love others, not to hand out regulations, not to hand out to-do lists, not to check the box, not to make more laws to try to stop sin. I mean, it's just loving people. To be that, not what it was, you know, since the 4th century.
Yeah.
So my question to you, Justin, is, do you think we covered his point?
I think so.
Or do you think there's something that we may be missing?
I think we covered a good amount of it. Let me look. Always use for.
I believe we covered stuff that wasn't there either.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think we've gone over some other stuff besides that, but yeah,
it's fun to do that, isn't it?
Yeah.
well, let's drop some final points on this then. Let's drop some. Let's let Scott know that we are very appreciative of.
Oh, absolutely! Thank you, Scott.
I mean, sharing your story, man, that's what it's all about, dude.
Yeah.
I know that my testimony is my testimony, and we talked about it with Jack a couple weeks ago, which I think was. This is what I want to say. if you listened to the podcast last week and you had 7 guys on who are basically Christians, and you haven't listened to any other podcasts, man, I'm asking you to go back and listen to the podcast with Jack, because what you'll hear is guys sitting around with a lot of differing opinions. Stop chewing on your pop filter there. But you go,
yeah, we all have really different opinions, and like I'm still really good friends. And
the crazy thing is that, you know, when we sat and we talked about these issues and about these things, and you know, and we're looking from totally different sides of the walls. You know, we still found this way to just, you know, really interact with each other, and not to be hateful. And
right.
I think if Jack's sitting across from me,
mm-hmm.
and I call myself a Christian, and he calls himself atheist, agnostic, or atheist, or agnostic, or whatever it is,
right?
And we have those conversations, and we have those relationships being built. This is one of my points that I was trying to make earlier that I couldn't make because I didn't know where I was going with it.
Mm-hmm.
We can stop being so negative in our initial presuppositions of people, you know? Because honestly, when Christian hears the word atheist, they think of hateful, mean-spirited people, you know? Oh my gosh, person or that person is just so mean, and they're an atheist and they hate Christians. Well, honestly, they really, not all of them do. I mean, I agree there are a group of people out there who call themselves atheists who absolutely can't stand Christians.
Yep.
But what if we looked at those people differently? What if we what if we looked at those people, their people, those people who call themselves atheists? What if we had we went into it with a different light, more positive than negative?
Yeah.
I think that would be a gigantic leap.
Yep.
In helping our case to be Christian and not to be, you know, not to have this negative light that we so have right now.
This sort of reactionary kind of stance that we have toward everything.
Yeah. You know, it would be beneficial for us to let's just be honest, to act a little bit more like Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people out there is like, I'm trying to be Christ-like, you know, 1 John 2:6, 1 John 2:6, 1 John 2:6. If I claim to be, you know, be in Christ, I should walk as he did. You know, they throw out all these verses about being like Christ.
And don't be a jerk.
Yeah, then stop calling people, you know, names because you don't like what they're doing. You know what? If we worried a little bit more about what we were doing than what everybody else was doing, then maybe we wouldn't have as many problems today as we have. You know, Scott, man, how old is Scott's about your age?
Yeah, he's my age.
Okay, so he's a lot younger than I am.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm like, here's a young man who is barely getting started in life. I mean, let's just be real. You know, you're just out of being a kid. Now you're starting to be an adult. You're just getting started in your life. And he has this faith, and he doesn't even want to associate with the one word that doesn't make him who he is, but really describes who he is, who he's supposed to be in his belief system. And he doesn't even want to associate with it because of the years and the years and the years of treachery that people have placed upon this one word. You know,
right.
Of course it aggravates me because once I start getting heated about a situation, I you know, everybody on the podcast know what I do. You know, it hurts, man, you know, to see this post. And it doesn't hurt because I feel like I'm offended by it, because I'm not, because I actually kind of feel a lot I'm a lot, I don't know, I'm really close to his sentiment here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
It's I know what he's feeling. I know what I mean, oh
yeah, I've totally been there. Yeah.
I mean, I just want to say, man, dude, I'm sorry, because I'm one of those people that caused that negative. You know, Scott, I apologize to him. I mean, I was one of those people at one point who played the role but didn't live the life, you know? This is a very overt Christian conversation today, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a Christian question, so
Yeah. But from the outside looking in, I mean, you see why. I hope that those who are listening who are in the church can understand why Scott made this comment and why we're
Right.
even discussing it. I hope you see that we're really speaking to you to change people. I mean, if you're a Christian, that's what Jesus is to you, change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's to be different. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and not to be different because you're better.
Right.
You're different because you're not better.
Right.
I mean, we're all
That's
the
the
same.
whole point.
We're all the same. We're all human beings. And yes, because I am a Christian, I believe because we're all human beings, we need Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
You may not agree with that. Jack doesn't agree with me. But hey, that's good because I need somebody to not agree. But you know what my wife told me today?
What?
We need somebody more controversial on the show than Jack is. I'm like, wow, I thought Jack was kind of controversial. But she goes, no, but y'all get along so well. I'm like, I know, that's what it's all about. I want to get along. But I mean, I know what she's saying, you know,
Right.
because he's so hopeful. He's
Yeah.
so optimistic. I mean, he's so likable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
What if we all had that outlook on life, no matter what our religious beliefs were? You know, we're
Yeah.
so optimistic, and I mean, he really thinks that we're good people. Almost such a bad person, and he's like, "Oh, you're a good person, Keith," and I'm like, "No,
No.
and this proves it because I was one of the people that helped put these. What was it? Because of so many negative and controversial examples of Christians who have been treated, who have treated the word as a title to be worn instead, and used instead of a lifestyle to be lived and actively pursued. That's such a crippling statement to make towards Christians, but it's so true that we throw it around like it's nothing. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And man, I'm like, I agree, but don't distance yourself, Scott.
Yeah.
Don't be one of the few who's going to stand up and make it real.
Yep.
I mean, stand with us. I mean, I agree that we should be held accountable for who we are as Christians. You know, I know that sounds funny to people who aren't Christians, but we should hold ourselves accountable to what we're doing. And this is one of those times where people should hold themselves accountable, you know, and go out and be different. You know, Justin, be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't make fun of people smoking pot when you're delivering the cookies.
I don't make fun of them.
Now, come on.
I think
now.
it's funny.
Come on. You know, you were thinking it. I wonder what they really need. What they got going on over there? And then again, you may have been like, can I join?
Yeah, sometimes it didn't smell too bad at all.
Yeah. I hate to say that, though. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
to taking it in a different direction for a second, I did smoke when I was younger. A lot.
Yeah.
We all know I did. I mean, it's evident. You know, man. But I miss the smell sometimes. But I don't want to do it. Well,
Right.
that's a conversation for another day, right? Oh, we may have to edit that part out. Nah, it'd be all right.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyways, yeah. So I mean, I guess that's my cut on it, man. You know, that's my.
Yeah. And I mean, I agree with you. I mean, don't distance yourself from it, because it's so tempting to want to run away from negative labels, and you're probably justified in doing that. However, it doesn't help the situation. It just helps you as an individual distance yourself, but it doesn't help what you're trying to stand for. It's, we want to go and redeem these words and redeem what these things mean, rather than run away and try to be like, okay, those who call themselves Christian, don't really understand, or don't, they are, when they use the term, they don't mean what I mean by it, and it shows just more, I'm trying to find a better word, disunity, more separation between people who really believe the same thing or believe a lot of the same things. So don't distance yourself, but
exactly. I mean, I think, we use the word forgetting walls, and it's only about the walls. We want people on either side to see each other and kind of love them. I know that's going to be hard for us to do. I mean, I have daily battles with it.
Yeah.
But this is the moment where we say, if we're going to stand on something, if we're going to stand for something, maybe this is one of those areas we stand for. Like we reclaim and see, and this is not a problem, this is not us battling the guys on the outside the walls. This is us battling the people on the inside the walls, which that's always where the battles, I think that's where the biggest battles come from anyways.
Yeah.
So here's my deal, right?
Yep.
Like we said, Scott, don't distance. Stand up, get your game on, and reclaim that word. Guys and girls, reclaim the church. Reclaim that phrase, the church. Take that back. Make it what it's supposed to be. Don't let it get diluted and with what's going on in the world today. Let's make the word the church mean the church. If it needs to mean if the church means your local expression of the body of believers of Christ in that area, hey, that's great. That's fine. But let's not make it what it, or let's not let it be what it has always been. Let's not let that negative connotation get back into that word, the church. And Christians as well. Let's take that back. When we say the word Christian, that means who I am, who Justin is, who people claim that.
Yep.
Let's not let it go by the wayside. No. It's a shame. I feel it would be a shame to let that happen. And I think that may be a stance for us, Justin, to say, hey, we're not going to distance ourselves from it either, even though we would love to at times.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I see. Let's put it like this: we're gonna get up here in a second and probably end the podcast, but we're going to go back to an article we were talking about, or a story we were talking about, just to make our points clear.
Yeah.
With Creflo Dollar, Pastor Creflo Dollar.
Yeah.
Is that his real name? I've never really looked that up.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's his real name. I think that may be a point at some point I may check out. But if that's his real name, hey, that's fine. I don't care. I'm not making fun of your name. But it's just so ironic, that's the name you go by.
Yeah.
And we know he's a prosperity gospel preacher. It's very evident, right?
Yep.
And he asked, and I know we were speaking about it earlier, but he asked 200,000. He said, I need 200,000 people to donate $300 a piece. So he can buy this luxury jet. For what purpose? So he can preach worldwide. So he can carry the ministry to the world. So he can be a missionary to the world with a $65 million jet.
Oh my gosh.
And let me tell you something. This is no ordinary jet. This thing, let's put it like this. There's a waiting list for this jet. The first article I read was, I'm reading one from the Huffington Post now. But it's called the G650. Is the biggest, fastest, most luxurious, longest range, and most technologically advanced jet by far that Gulfstream has ever built. And that was written by Flying Magazine in 2013. Now, the funny thing about this is that this jet literally has a waiting list of 100 people right now. There's 100, and they're not going to make but so many, because it's so luxurious. I saw a picture of the inside of this thing. Dude, come on.
It's nice.
Dude, it's let's just put it like this, man. When you flying that, you flying in style, bro. That's just all it is. You are flying in style. It's like players ball everywhere. And for those of you who are too young, that's an Outcast reference. But it's just, it blows my mind. So, and me and my wife were talking about it, okay? Okay, listen, I want to read this part, okay? It says, I think this comes from the ministry. We believe it is time to replace the aircraft. They had another aircraft that they said they were having issues with, right? Another plane. It says, we believe it is time to replace this aircraft so that our pastors and staff can continue to safely and swiftly share the good news of the gospel worldwide, the copy read. Therefore, we are asking members, partners, and supporters of this ministry to assist us in acquiring a Gulfstream G650 airplane so that pastors Creflo and Taffy and World Changers Church International continue to blanket the globe with the gospel of grace. Now, look. I'm not going to sit here and question his integrity of trying to get the gospel out to the world.
As much as I want to.
Exactly, as much as I want to. But here's my question. Okay, Justin?
Yep.
$65 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? $65 million.
Yes.
Are there other ways we could put that money to use?
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. Imagine what you could do with that besides buying a freaking jet.
I'm thinking, okay. I don't know if we talked about it last week, but the Relevant podcast, Jesse Carey on the Relevant podcast a few weeks ago did a endurance challenge. Did I tell you about that?
Oh, yeah.
The Nickelback challenge where he was going, I don't know how he did it.
What a brave man.
Oh my gosh. So he was going to listen to the whole discography, which is like 8 discs, 8 album CDs, whatever you want to call it a day. And he was going to listen to them in chronological order for 24 hours a day for 7 days. Okay? That means Nickelback is playing 24 hours a day for 7 days.
Oh, bless his heart.
So he was doing this, and it was, it was this whole big thing, and, it worked out well for the publicity for Relevant and Jesse and everybody because he got a buttload of interviews. But it was, he said, if I'm going to do this, I really want to make it worth my while and worth the while. So they picked a charity, and it's called Charity Water, and it gives clean water to people, overseas and around the world. And he says, look, my goal is to raise $5,000, right? And then they realized, well, we really need to raise $10,000 to, I think, $10,000, will like give clean water to like a whole village or something. I don't know.
Okay.
So they ended up raising, I don't know what the final number is or what the final number was, but at the time I saw it, like right after it ended, I think they were still raising funds. It was $35,000 they had raised through listener support, right? That's a lot of money. $35,000.
That's a good amount.
Right. And that gives clean water to like 1,000 plus people. Like 1,000, between 1,000 and 1,100 people, all right? That's a lot of people getting clean water, right?
Yeah.
$65 million.
Yep.
Take 10% of that, $6.5 million. How many people could get clean water from that?
Yep.
And and that's the funny thing. We're just talking about water. I mean, I know we can't feed the whole entire world. That's sometimes impossible. But couldn't you put that money to a lot better use than a stinking private jet that? Let's just put it like this. It's the Rolls Royce of the air. It's the Maybach in the sky. And that's what I'm saying. It's just, it blows my mind. That's what we're doing with money. And hey, I'm not gonna lie to you. I have my own issues with money. I think about what kind of house can I get, and I forget sometimes about what I really need to be doing with it. But because that's who we are. I know every person has issues with money, but $65 million, man. Let's just put it like this. If I win the lottery and I hit $65 million, I won't be buying a private jet. But I tell you what, I may pay off a few bills. I may purchase a house. I may even pay off my Volkswagen and Sonata. But I tell you what, man, that money, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not trying to boister myself up above anybody else, because I know I'll have issues with money if something like that happened to me. But man, I just see so many other needs out in the world that could be helped, and you can't solve every problem with money, but you could solve some minor issues going on in the world,
right? Even if you can alleviate some suffering.
Oh my gosh, I mean, even if it's just helping out in your own community, you know? And that's just what blows my mind. And we wonder why people like Scott have issues with the word Christian.
Definitely.
I know we hit that story twice, but man, I had to go back to it because it's just one of those things that stick out. And I understand media is going to push it because it really, the prosperity gospel and all that and this, that, and the other. But man, guys and girls, we got to be better than this.
Mm-hmm.
What you think about, Justin?
I agree, and it's really. I mean, I've seen it all over kind of news, and I saw it. I was watching Comedy Central last night, and they were talking about it last night about how ridiculous it was. And they had a pastor on there, and he was talking about, that that's not what the gospel is. That's not what Jesus
Right.
came to do. And they're like, yeah, there's a lot of good pastors doing good things out there, which was encouraging to see that, like, at least the perception of it is like a lot of people realize that, yeah, this isn't what Jesus taught. This isn't what Christianity is. So that, at least that to me is a little bit encouraging. But still, to have people like that still claiming
Right.
that, so. But yeah, so there's hope.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that you think there's hope out there still in the world. I'm just going to say this. If you're not watching March Madness, dude, watch it. It's awesome right now. There's some close games. I know look, me and Justin agree. Look, don't distance yourself from the word Christian, and Christians in the world, just do what you got to do. Make that word better by how you live.
It's up to you to make it better.
Yeah. And we're just going to go ahead and get ready to end the show. People, watch March Madness. It is going off right now. LSU is beating.
Oh, really?
Yeah. North Carolina only won by 2 points.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Against who?
Harvard.
Okay, wow. All right.
LSU is beating North Carolina State right now.
All right. Well, let's get off and watch it.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to.
All right.
I'm probably going to get off and go to bed. I'm old.
True that.
But Justin, man, I appreciate it. It's been a long
no
time
problem.
since it's just being me and you. When I go back and listen to this, hopefully I won't have to edit out too much.
Yeah, and I talked a lot more this episode. I'm so proud of myself.
Stoked, man. I'm there was times where I was like, okay, I'm leaning back, and I'd get, yep, I agree. That's right. And I'm like, no, more, Justin, more talk, Justin, more talk.
I'm getting better at this thing. 13 episodes in, I'm starting to get the hang of it a little bit. So
just a little bit, right? But hey,
I'm not a talkative person, so give me some credit.
I'm throwing it off to you, man. That's good stuff. But
all right, there we go.
Hey, all in all, two guys, two random dudes doing a podcast, man. That's all we're doing. Hopefully we solved your issue, or we discussed your issue real well, Scott. And for everybody else, we thank you for joining us, because I'm Keith.
I'm Justin.
And always want to remind you that people are not projects. They're people just like you and me. So love them like you love yourself. And guys and girls, we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Forgetting Walls podcast. If you're subscribing to us on iTunes, leave us a rating to help us spread the word about this podcast. Remember, the only way this works is if you share your story. So be sure to visit the website and leave us a comment at forgettingwalls.com, or find us on Twitter at forgettingwalls and facebook.com/forgettingwalls.
Peace!
I find your lack of faith disturbing.